I love these books. These are real thick, chunky books. The Art of Pulp Fiction. I've got a few others as well. I'm going to go through Pulp Horror, etc. This one's got lots of great stuff. It's got these lovely penny dreadfuls. Brilliant. Bought a few over the years, these penny dreadfuls. And also you've got these ones, In the Balance. Well, there you've got Mildred Pierce, obviously a famous film as well. Pal Joey as well. And the Maltese Falcon. So you've got some, I love those ones. I've had quite a few over the years of those type of books. Just brilliant. The Chinese Parrot. The Chinese Parrot, that sounds a good one. The Cat's Prowl at Night. Obviously, lots of Westerns as well. So many, I think these are great as well. When they have these covers, just brilliant without actually having obviously all the writing on. The Daughter of Fu Manchu, great ones as well. Captain Blood, Morgan the Pirate, obviously lots and lots of these sort of wonderful Buccaneer ones. Revolt of the Triffids. You know what? I don't even know about that. Revolt of the Triffids. Not Day of the Triffids, but Revolt of the Triffids. The Demolished Man, obviously some science fiction. Brilliant. Fahrenheit 451, of course, classic there. And some more there. Isaac Asimov and also C.S. Lewis there. The Scarf, The Harlot Killer, Junkie. And then on to some other ones. Harlem is My Heaven, Dark Brother, The Avenger. Obviously, some of these are the like Spider and Doc Savage, I guess. Conan the Barbarian. Oh, look at that. Brilliant bit of Conan there. Looks very different from, of course, Buscema Conan there. And Barry Windsor Smith, I should say, as well. Love Cult, Whipping Room, The Double Indemnity, and many, many others. And this book is just packed solid with brilliant, quite reasonably sized covers, which is really good. Obviously, some smaller ones as well. But that's The Art of Pulp Fiction by Ed Hulse. Now, the next one is this one, which is a very similar title, The Art of Pulp Horror by Stephen Jones. And this one includes some great stuff as well. And I've got a few other books, and I've just suddenly thought of a few that I'm missing. I've got a Weird Tales one that I haven't got, but still, can't go through them all. This one, of course, you can see Monster there, Super Science. It obviously covers quite dark mysteries. You're going to get some comics in it. Again, some more sort of penny dreadfuls ones as well. More of them here. There you've got loads of... And also, of course, these very early magazines, like the Collier's ones, the Golden Scorpion, Pre-Code Horror. And you've got some lovely... I just love these film posters as well. Absolutely great. It looks like Dave McKean, of course. And The Invisible Menace, The Ghost Walks. Now, lots of these films I don't think I've ever seen. Now, you do pick them up on various DVDs and Blu-rays and things. But some I probably have seen, maybe on Talking Pictures. The Old Dark House. Now, that was very good. Again, brilliant, brilliant there. Got Dracula's Daughter. I half enjoyed that. I watched that recently. That was quite good. I got a box set of good old, all these really early Dracula films, and it includes that one. You got their Mystic, Ace Mystery, Spicy Adventures there. Loads of those ones. Of course, classic Weird Tales, Strange Stories as well. The sinister ones, a lot of these, of course, you start getting into some of the early sort of Marvel comic ones before they became, of course, Marvel comics. There were these pulps. And, of course, Weird Tales again. And fantastic. And just lots and lots of great, wonderful, pulpy sort of things here. Whistling in the Dark, Red Skelton there. The Smiling Ghost. They just Spiral Staircase. Oh, sort of film noir, I suppose, but still Dragon Wick as well. And into some comics. You've got here, of course, classic Eerie there again. Tomb of Terror, The Black Magic, Scream, of course, some UK ones. I love these ones. Spellbound, of course, these were black and white ones. Spellbound again, Mystic. I haven't got many of these. I've got a few, but they're great. I think they're like Alan Class ones, all those sort of ones. Scream, and you've got here Terror Tales, and of course these classic Marvel comic ones, The Vault of Evil, see Mummy there, The Living Mummy, Boris Karloff. I was never a big fan of some of these ones, the Boris Karloff ones, but I know lots of people love them. And some more horror ones there, Bride and the Beast, and well, obviously the Hammer ones. Just going to watch some Hammer films tonight. Actually, that's one of the things I'm going to watch on Blu-ray. Weird Tales again, and Not at Night, and some more. These ones are great. Don't often see many of these ones. Men Today, Tales of Terror, and Exploitation, Explosion, and of course many other ones there. Terror there, obviously the Draculas from Hammer again. Book of Blood. Oh, Rats, The Rats, James Herbert, one of my favourite. I loved that back in the 70s. That was just brilliant. I've actually still got it, and I must reread it again. I'm certain it's just going to be just as good reading it again. So that one is The Art of Pulp Horror. Now, the next one, another one, sort of similar sort of thing. You can see they're all about the same sort of size. This one, you can see all the people involved, quite a few people there involved. And let's get onto the various contents there. The Spider, Strange Detective, In Search of Adventure. Oh, all these things. The Big Story magazine, great titles. And Adventure Trails, Cops, Crooks and Private Dicks, Detective Story magazine, obviously like Detective Comics, but you've got Detective Story magazine, Hollywood Detective, Feds, Ace G-Man. They were really action-packed. Sad they all just, well, you can still pick them up. The gun moles, greater gangster stories. Of course, the ones I have got generally are falling to pieces. They literally are pulp. And you've got here Star Western, popular Westerns. You've got soldier stories. They put everything. It wasn't just superheroes. This was, you got World War stories. You've got G8, the loads of them, Skybirds, Warbirds, and then horror. So we're on to horror now, thrilling mysteries, Marvel tales. And this, of course, like you can see the Marvel comics straight away. These sort of coming in, mystery tales, uncanny tales. And they used to feature certain characters, like you had Kizar or whatever in those. And also Adventures on Other Worlds, astounding. I mean, just classic. Skylark Smith, loved those grey lensmen. Oh, these ones are always good as well. I've got a couple of those, really great. The stories, I think sometimes are not the world's greatest, but still, they are fascinating of their period, aren't they? Fantastic story, Red Star Mystery, Jungle ones as well. You've got a lot. The Temptation, Snappy, and many others. On to ones that were a bit earlier. This one is still a favourite of mine. Peter Haining, I love this one. History of Horror Illustrations. Not really covers in the same way, some covers obviously, but you've got the Penny Dreadfuls, etc. You've got more of the internal pages, which that one doesn't really show. It shows obviously a lot of the covers, but not really the internal, which I must admit I generally really enjoy. Sometimes the illustrations are absolutely first rate. Sometimes, of course, done by obviously people who went on to become fairly famous comic book artists as well. Usually the argosy there, obviously some covers, but again, this book does include a lot of these brilliant illustrations. I think it's just absolutely weird tales there again, of course. I think this was one of the probably earliest books I got in terms of seeing all these just superb artists that I really didn't know. I wouldn't have seen these. Weird Tales, I would never in the 70s have seen a copy of Weird Tales magazine anywhere. I'm certain not even at Comic Marts. I probably, if I did see it, I probably went past it without thinking much about it. Obviously, H.P. Lovecraft, all these sort of characters, Conan, Headman by Robert Bloch, and many other artists that die in tradition, as it says there. On to this one, which is a very odd one. And there was, I think, a series of these Pulp Art Masters, but this is about the only one I've ever found a copy of. Still, very good little book. Again, it's got lots and lots of examples of some great art. And this is obviously this artist. So I can never say his name, Belaski, I guess. So you can see there all the different covers. I don't know if it includes all of the covers, but still you've got Phantom Detective there, Popular Detective, Mystery, Detective, lots of Detective, Popular Detective, Detective 2 Detective, G-Men, Thrilling Detective, Detective Fiction, Popular Detective again, and so on. You see detectives, obviously Detective Comics, obviously eventually with DC, of course, RAF Aces, and Air War, and Wings. So loads and loads of different things. Argosy, Argus, how you ever say that? I don't know, that's still not going, is it? I'm certain it isn't. Thrilling Adventures, and many, many others. On to this one, which is not really pulp, but sort of fits in that thing. Vintage science fiction book covers. Now, I've done a review of this before. I think this is just an absolutely brilliant book. You got cover after cover after cover in this. You've got Space Void, synthetic ones. Some of these books I have seen over the years. Many of them I did have copies of. I regret getting rid of them as well because now they're very hard. Used to have a really good shop in Reading where you could just pick up loads of brilliant old science fiction. And this was, I often see these sort of ones. And you'd have little piles of these pulp ones in the thing as well, these digest magazines. Also, you've got iRobot, of course, that's a famous one, isn't it? Project Jupiter, I wouldn't know, Revolt in 2000, The Lost Legacy, and so on. This book has got so many covers, some very small, some are very, very tiny, but it does include information about the cover, the details, etc., artists and whatever. Does it include that? Yes, it does. The art by Gordon C. Davis and that. There's The Purple Wizard. I mean, what a brilliant book. I mean, I think you should be able to pick up copies of this still, hopefully. But I think it's just a great one. These are like 50s ones, not mainly 50s, I think. 1954, so you've got there the Demos deadline. And you've also got these lovely examples here. I think the covers, some of the covers later, I really love the 60s covers and the 70s ones, which I think is a pity they didn't include so many of. I wish they'd included more of the 70s stuff as well. But still, and you can see that obviously the change in the art style there. Things like my favourites, like Penguin ones. I love those ones. The J.G. Ballards, Terminal Beach comes to mind as a classic. Now, I don't know if that's included in here, but there's loads of brilliant science fiction ones in this book. Definitely worth picking up. And also other books by him. Ryan Hughes, I think, has done some absolutely glorious books. And finally, a book I'm actually, yes, nearly dropped it. That's quite hefty. And I'm getting rid of this. I'm actually, I know that sounds weird. I'm showing it now, but I've actually got it on my eBay listings at the moment, or will have very shortly. And this one's amazing stories, but this has got horror and everything else. And I think it sort of overlaps with the other one. So I've looked quite often, I go through my books and think, you know what? Have I got generally the same sort of thing in those other books? And the answer is yes. So this one, I think, probably is, you know, but I think it's still great. I love that one. New Worlds. I love that. I've got that one. Behold, man. I bought loads of the New Worlds. They are always great. I've also got the lovely Moorcock one that was the massive New Worlds book, real thick one with the indexing. Oh, these were great as well. Science Fiction Impulse. Love those. Don't think there's a book on that one though. However, got that one. I did have that one, I should say. Pocket Books of Science Fiction. I do regret getting rid of that one because that was absolutely, I think, one of the really earliest sort of pocket science fiction books ever. And there used to be a lovely science fiction book centre up Holloway Road that I always loved going to, absolutely packed solid with all kinds of science fiction magazines. It had all that New Worlds, those lovely larger New Worlds ones as well, which are crazily expensive now. Of course, this has also got posters and things, Star Trek First Contact there, some zombie one there, and also Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe. Of course, into H.P. Lovecraft, some films and horror films, The House of Dracula, The Devil Commands, The Mummy's Tomb, and more weird tales. I think they're just great covers. The stories, of course, sometimes featuring Conan and those sort of ones. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, Astounding Stories. He didn't do many in Astounding. I think probably that was about the only one. The horror stories, Satan's Seamstress. Oh, you have to say that's got a great title. Bat Out of Hell. Does that sound like some sort of, that sounds like someone's sort of song. Anyway, who knows? And also Three Dimensions, House of Wax, Fantasy, and Peter Cushing. Superb again, some brilliant, good old Hammer films. I love Hammer films. Fantasy Tales, they were great, those ones. And many, all these various horror books as well. Night Train, probably more of the 80s. Didn't pick so many of those up. 100 Vicious Vampire Stories. I love those 100 stories. I bought loads of those books. 100 science fiction, 100 weird horror stories. They were great. Really, really packed solid with some great pulp stuff. I've never heard of that one. That's very weird. The Moon Pool, I've heard of that one, the famous one. And The Devil Doll, and more weird tales. This covers fantasy as well as obviously science fiction and horror. It goes through, and it got some lovely ones. I love these. Some of the covers are great. The Good Story there, again, more merit there. And Swordsman in the Sky, obviously getting into like Conan's and those. Brack the Barbarian, those sort of ones. Great. R.E. Howard. Conan the Barbarian, brilliant film. Sinbad, love those. And The Eye of the Tiger. So, yeah. I think that sounds like a film as well, a record as well. Legend, Mr. Fantasy, and so on. The White Heart, and so on. What a brilliant book. Weighs a ton. Actually does weigh a ton, this book. This is by Frank Robinson. And so this one, I think I'll move that out of the way. So that is a run through of some of my books I've got when it comes to various pulp covers. So you've got this Terror one, and you've got some of these ones, obviously the Art of the Pulps. I love these books. These are always absolutely great picking up. But as I said, one I am going to get rid of. So, and this one, which I think is probably my favourite of that one, The Art of Pulp Fiction. Love that one. Have you got any of these books? Do you love these sort of books as well? These sort of cover books, art books, going through the history of pulp? Just for me, just brilliant. Always enjoyed them. Be curious to know, have you got any favourites as well? Ones that I haven't mentioned, any you can think of, you know what, they're much better than the ones I've shown here. It would be great to hear from you about that as well. Bye.